Again, we're at the point where we're asked to, write this down as a series where they want the nth term with the assumption that we're going to start n at 1. Now, kind of looking at it, I know it's a partial fraction problem, and I'll just write this down initially. And my goal is to get to the first step, is the partial fraction decomposition. So, I don't know, I'm going to say 2x and 3x, and then I'm going to say 3 and 2. Again, I'm just kind of looking at it, playing around with it. Could be wrong. And then let's see. I'm going to say minus. No, I'm going to say plus and a minus sign. Let me see if that works out. You would get 6x squared. That's a bingo. You would get, this is a plus sign. You would get, let's see, minus 4x and 9x, which is 5x, and you get minus 6. So this worked out beautifully. Let's write down the next step is to write down, multiply both sides by the LCD. And again, we have a key to look at, but I just want to get to this first stage of the key. I'm going to multiply both sides by the LCD, so you can get A, 3x minus 2 plus B, 2x plus 3. I also recommend when you're doing homework that you really should be looking at the key to make sure your first step is correct, second step is correct, and it leads to the final answer. Because if the first step's incorrect, it's not going to match. It's just going to be a disaster from there on out. So what do I do over here? I'm going to do something different now. I'm going to just simply say x is 0. This is something different than we've done in the past. So what do you get? Minus 12 equals minus 2a plus 3b. And then I'm going to say x is 1. And again, this looks a little different than we've done in the past. So what do you get over there? Minus 7. I'm choosing 1, by the way. Then you get 3 minus 2, which is 1. So you just get a. And over there you get 5b. I got 2 equations, 2 unknowns. Looks relatively simple to do. I'll take the second equation and multiply by minus 2. You would get, I'm sorry, by 2. You get minus 14. I'm multiplying by 2. 2a and 10b. I'm going to cross this off. And I'm going to add these together now. So you get minus 28 equals, I'm sorry, minus 26. I made a mistake there. I got it back up. Minus 26, because minus 14 and minus 12 is minus 26. The a's disappear, and then you get 13b. Well, lo and behold, the b turns out to be a really nice number. And what's that number? Minus 2. I'm going to get my eraser out. I'm going to erase this over here, and I'll put that down now. That's minus 2, all right? So then, someone says, how do you get the a? Well, I take some of the equations, and I got a bunch of them. By the way, the one I crossed off I like the best. I'm sorry I crossed that off. So what do you get over here? Minus 7 equals, I don't know a, but b is minus 2. That's minus 10, right? So what'd you get? A would be equal to the number 3. I'm going to put this eraser down, and I'm going to put the 3 over here. Now what I want to do is just look at the key, and I want to make sure you're staring at that. 3, well, they said 3 plus 2x. That's fine. I got 2x plus 3. And then 2, and they said something different. So I'm gonna say, I know why they did it now. So I'm going to erase all my work. It's correct, by the way. We have a correct answer. But I'm going to rewrite these guys. And I'll get there in a moment. So what they did was, in the first term, they just commuted the bottom, which would be 3 plus 2x. In the second term, they actually multiplied the top and the bottom by minus 1. What would you get there? You get minus 2 on top, and minus 2 is plus 2. And what would you get in the bottom? You would get 2 minus 3x. I want to go to the key. I want to see if I've matched that now. And I see it. I see the 3. I see the 3 plus 2x on the bottom. I see plus 2 over 2 minus 3x. All right. Someone says, what are you going to do now? I am going to go to the next step in the problem. And the next step in the problem is to get this thing to look like what I want it to look like. And I want to remind you what I want it to look like. I want it to look like this. And it doesn't look like this. So in the first one, what I'm going to do, from the top I'll factor out a 3, and from the bottom I'll factor out a 3. And what do you get on top over here? The 1, which is what I want. And what do you get on bottom? You get 1 plus 2/3 of an x. Let's do the next one. Plus 2. What do I do in the bottom? Factor a 2 out because I want it to look a certain way. What's that going to be? 1 minus 3 over 2x. All right? I'm going to further simplify this. And again, I'm erasing my backtracks. I don't need these anymore. And I want to move forward. All right? I'm going to write these down. I'm going to give myself some space over here. I'm going to write this first term down now as 1. 3 over 3 is 1, by the way. 1 minus, let's write this down, minus 2x over 3. All right? I know what the u is now. Let's do the next one. Plus 1. What do you get on the bottom? 1 minus, what's the u in this case over here? 3 over 2x. Get my eraser out, and my goal now is to write down these sums using that formula. All right? So it's tough, but I'll write it down for you. And the first one, fairly simple. What's it going to be? Well, 1 plus, I'll be very careful to write these terms down for you, minus 2x over 3 plus minus 2x over 3 squared plus minus 2x over 3 cubed plus yada, yada, yada. We've done that many times, by the way. What's the other one going to be? 1 plus 3 over 2x plus 3 over 2x squared plus 3 over 2x cubed plus yada, yada, yada. All right? And again, I think you probably know the goal at this point. I got to simplify this. I got to get them to come together. And so what I'm going to do is sort of write it down. And if I wrote this down, I want to point out what I get. The first term would be 1 plus 1. And there would be no x's there. I'll put x0. The next term, I'll write this down for you, is 3 over 2 minus 2 over 3x. Again, I'm looking for a pattern. What's the next one going to be? I got to be real careful about this. It's going to be, let's see, 3 over 2 plus, well, that's going to be now, I'm sorry, it's 3 over 2 squared. I'm sorry about that. Now it's going to be plus, all right, 2/3 squared. And then it's going to be the x squared. And by the way, I really think I sort of have it. And so what do you mean you sort of have it? I really don't have this first term here. So I'm going to kind of write that down. And I'm going to say it's 3 over 2. There's none of those. And then I'm actually going to say plus minus 2 over 3, none of those, x to the 0. And I can write the next term down just like that. It's going to be 3 over 2 to the 1 minus, let's write this down. Oh, not minus, I'll put plus down, plus minus 2/3. I want it to look exactly like the other one, to the first power, x1. Let's write the next one down. What's it going to be? 3 over 2 squared plus, well, I'm going to write down now minus 2/3 squared x squared. And then it's, plus dot, dot, dot. I think I'm ready to write it down now. And someone says, how could you do that? Well, the simplest way to do it is just see the pattern. And I see it. And I'll write this down. AN equals, I'm going to use square brackets, by the way. I'm going to say x. And I wanted to start at 0, so I'm going to say n minus 1. Remember, Wells wants you to start at 1. And then what do you get over here? Let's write this down. 3 over 2 n minus 1 plus minus 2/3 n minus 1. Let's see if that works. And, certainly, are the powers all going to be the same? Yeah, if I start at 1, it's going to be 0, 0, 0. If I go to 2, what do I get? 1, 1, 1. I'm getting that. If I go to 3, do I get that? Of course I do. Now here comes the problem. I'm going to look at the key, and I notice they did a lot of work on getting the key. But before I do that, I want to claim I see this as an answer. Let me tell you where I see this. I see this, well, not really, but I kind of see it partially. What do they do? They didn't pull the x out yet, but I do see this over here. All right, what am I seeing? Minus 2/3 to the n minus 1. I see that. I see 3/2 to the n minus 1. And if you factor the x to the n minus 1 out, I see that too. All right? So someone could say, should I get to what they have? And I think you should. All right? I think you should get there. So I'm going to point out, I see this part in the answer. Let me outline that for you. I see this. But I got to play around with this inside business, by the way. And as I do that, that might seem like a waste of time, but I need to manipulate it. So I'm going to say, I see, and let me write this down. I got to be careful about it. I see 3 over 2 to the n minus 1. So I'm going to say 3 over 2 to the n, and then 3 over 2 to the minus 1 is 2/3. What do I get next? Plus, well, I got to be careful over here. And I see, let's write this down. I see minus 2/3 to the n, and then I see minus 2/3 to minus 1, which is minus 3/2. All right? Again, I'm just working towards your answer, and I know that's tough. Now I got troubles. And someone says, what are your troubles? I've got to get a common denominator. All right? So kind of looking at it, it has something to do with 3 to the n and 2 to the n. All right? So I'm going to say, I'm going to write this down now. I'm going to multiply this thing by 3 to the n, and I'm going to multiply it by 2 over 2. All right? Let's do this one over here, and I'll do it one step at a time. I'm going to multiply this thing by 2 to the n, that's a builder, and then 3 over 3. It's tough, though. I'm not saying it's easy. All right, I got to kind of do this, and, it doesn't look easy, but I think I can do it. And I'm seeing something here. I'm seeing, let me write this down for you. I'm seeing 3 to the n plus, no, 2n, I'm sorry. I was going to say n plus n, but that's 2n, right? Whoops, I forgot about that guy. All right, I'm going to put a little highlighter here, point out what I just did. I just did this. All right. Now, what am I seeing on the bottom, though? I'm seeing something really strange, by the way. I got to get my eraser out, and I just want to make sure it looks a little bit neater than I'm putting it down. But again, this is a struggle for a lot of people, and you got to struggle to get to the answer that I got over here. So I'm going to say it's 3 to the 2n. And now I'm going to 3 to the n times 2 to the n. I'll write this on the bottom. I'm right on the side. 3 to the n times 2 to the n. What's that going to be? 3 times 2 to the n. So that's going to, I'm sorry, that's 3 times 2 to the n. That's going to be 6 to the n. All right? Let me show you what I just did there. I did these two. All right, that's done. Now, what am I going to do now? I'm looking at it. I got 6 to the n. Let's just do the other guy right now, okay? Get a little better at this. I'm not done with that, though. I'm not saying I'm done. I'm just looking at it. And I want to point out I get something over here, too. And what do I get there? Well, let's see. I got some work to do, don't I? So it's really minus 1 to the n. What I'm doing over here. And then 2 to the 2n. All right, I'll show you what I just did. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that either. I just did this. All right. I got to keep going, don't I? So what are we going to do over here? I'm looking for that 6 to the n now. And I'm seeing it. And it's right over here. I'll write that down for you. That's going to be 6 to the n. Now let's see what else we get. Well, in both cases, I get another 6. Let me write that down for you. Outline what I just did here. I'm just trying to account. And I get a 6 over here. I'll write that down for you. I got some things I haven't accounted for, right? And what do I get over here? I'm going to get, let's say 2 times 2 is 4, right? And then we get the other one, minus 9. I think I've accounted for everything. I think. So I'm still not seeing what they have, though. And someone says, well, are you ever going to get there? Yeah, I'm going to get there. And that's my goal. So the next thing I'm going to write down, and I got to be careful about this. Whoops. But my fraction bar. I'm going to say I see 6 to the n plus 1 here, plus 6 to the n plus 1 here. Now I'm seeing that 3 to the 2n, and that's really just like 9 to the n. And I still see that 4. All right? And then I'm kind of still looking at this, and I'm sorry, this is minus 9 over here in parentheses. And I see 4 to the n now. That's coming from this guy over here. And then what do you see over there? Well, let me write that down for you. I see minus 1 to the n. I see minus 1 to the n. I'm sorry, minus 1 to the 1, I'm sorry. And a 9. So that's going to be minus 1 to the n plus 1 times 9. Let me write that down. 9, and I'm seeing minus 1 to the n plus 1. All right, I got to do something here. And I'm going to borrow 9. 4 times 9 times 9 to the n minus 1 over 6 n plus 1. Let's do this over here. It's tough, though. I'm not saying it's going to be easy for you. And I'm looking at this one over here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a 9 and borrow a 4. And you can get 4 n minus 1 and then minus 1 n minus 1 over 6 to the n plus 1. Well, what I notice now is, it's kind of funny I notice this. This is 36, which is 6 squared. So what I'm going to do is simplify that denominator now. And what's it going to be? 6. And again, there's on the top 4 times 9 is 36, 6 squared. So it's now going to be n minus 1. And what do you get on top? You're going to get 9 to the n minus 1. Plus, let's see if we got that. Yeah, they got that. Let's do the next one. And I'm noticing the same thing over here. 36, it's still going to be n minus 1. And then what do you get? You're going to get, well, it's going to be minus 4 now to the n minus 1. Let's see if we got that. And again, I know it's a lot of work, and you must say, I'm not willing to do that work. You know, a lot of times I'm not willing to do the work either. 9 to the n minus 1, minus 4 to the n minus 1. Yeah, it's bingo. We got it. We did it. All right, we did it. Now, again, I'm of the opinion that the first answer I put down is probably the easiest one. This is the one I would write down. I would just walk away at that point. Now, certainly someone says, why is that? I'm not going any further, right? I got the AN term down. There's no reason to go forward. But a lot of times you're given an answer key, you got to go forward to make sure you're matching their answer key. All right, it's tough though. You notice I struggle with that too. I had to work my way towards that answer key, and that's a tough thing to do, by the way. Thank you if you paid attention. I do appreciate that. I also want to point out, periodically I tell you who I am and how to contact me. My name is Ron Bannon. My email address is Bannon, which is B as in the boy, B in boy, B as in boy, the @ symbol, NNON.US. And again, I want to remind you, if you do email me and I don't get back to you, don't take it personally. Sometimes I'm just overwhelmed. I can't get back to people. I have a full-time job, and I just can't handle the amount of email I get, and it's tough. It really is tough. All right, but if you get back to me and you have a constructive criticism, and I see that, I will certainly take it into consideration. But let me tell you something. I do my best to address all the emails I receive. Right, it's very rare that I don't get to all my emails. All right, very rare. Thank you. I should say all my important emails.